In the early hours of today, as I was having my usual book reading section of one of my favorite books, which is Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins, a statement struck my mind, which is they are using your weakness against you. Now, you might be asking, how does this connect to what I was reading and why am I sharing it with you? So if you give me a few minutes, I'm going to tell you why this is very important to you and why you need to hear what I'm about to reveal right now as your weakness, which is also the weakness of every single human being that is living on this planet Earth and is either destroying us or working against us. And these weaknesses that we're talking about are two brothers who are related to each other. They're not human beings, but I'm just trying to give you an example of something that will help you understand what I'm trying to say. And the first one is pain, and the second one is pleasure. So which makes them two brothers, pain and pleasure. And these two are the weaknesses of every single human being that are living. No matter who you are, you always have the weakness of the fear of pain and also the weakness of the love of pleasure. And these two things are the things that are at the foundation of the decisions we make every single day. So every single decision that we make are either influenced by our want for pleasure or by our fear of pain. That is what decides how we behave when we want to start a business, when we want to go into any relationship, when we want to build a house or invest in anything. These two things cannot be separated. They are inseparable from every single decision you make every single day as a human being. And that is why they are one of our strongest weaknesses. And I will tell you how they are using this weakness against you, or how these weaknesses are working against you, or if they are working for you. Now, like I said, the decisions we make every single day are influenced by these two brothers, either the fear of pain or the love for pleasure. So for you to do any single thing, it's either you are trying to avoid pain. Now, most of the time, that is why you see yourself going into businesses that you don't even love or don't even have passion about, or you don't even know how this thing works. But just because you see how successful people that are doing this business are, now because of the love of the pleasure that comes from the success of that business, you want to go into it and you make that decision. You want to do that kind of business because you want the pleasure that comes from the success of that business, or the pleasure that comes from the success of the people that are already in the business. Okay? And most of the times you run away from the things you have passion about because you have that fear of failing. You don't want to go through the pain. So because you are afraid of the pain that failure will bring to you, so you don't even want to go into it because you don't want to fail, because you don't want to try and fail, because you don't want people to laugh at you, because you don't want people to mock you. So that is why these weaknesses and how they are working against you. So it's either you dissect some of these things and understand it. And one important factor you need to know is that for us to be able to achieve long-term pleasure, we need to cut through short-term pain. And that is why you don't need to run away from the things you have passion about. You don't need to run away from the things you love doing. You don't need to run away from what people are going to say. Because when you fail, you feel some pain, you feel some suffering and all these things. When you struggle growing a business, or struggle as a content creator, or struggle in your relationship, or struggle in doing anything, you go through that pain. And if you're ready to stand by it and face it squarely, it's just for a short period of time. And if you're ready to go through that pain, that short term, you'll be able to enjoy the pleasure long term. And I would like to read something that Tony Robbins said from the place that I just read this morning from the book. He made a very beautiful statement here. He says, "It's not actual pain that drives us, but our fear that something will lead to pain. And it's not actual pleasure that drives us, but our belief, our sense of certainty that somehow taking a certain action will lead to pleasure." So do you see? So it's not even the pain that is driving us, okay? It's the fear that something might lead to pain that is actually driving us. That is why we make choices and regret those choices later on. That is why we try to avoid some business, we try to avoid some work, we try to avoid some things that even if we have passion about it, but we try to avoid them because we don't want that pain, because we are afraid that something might lead to pain in this process. Okay, that relationship might lead to pain, that business might lead to pain, going through this journey as a content creator might lead to so much pain, something might lead to pain. So because of that, because we want to avoid that, that will drive us, that will force us into making some decisions. Now, that is a weakness, and is also working against you. So, and it's not also the pleasures that is driving us, but the belief that at the process of doing this thing, this might actually lead to pleasure. Okay, this might somehow lead to pleasure. Okay, that is what will drive us. Okay, so that is one thing I want you to know about this. And one thing I want you to take away today is that you need to go through some pain to be able to enjoy long-term pleasure. And one thing also you need to know as a human being is that these weaknesses can serve as weakness, they can also serve as strength. And as a human being that is living on this planet Earth, you have to go through two of them. You have to welcome them, you have to live with them. Sometimes it will be painful, sometimes it will be pleasure. Okay? So the two of them are all bigger factor towards your success and bigger factor towards your failure. And you need to learn how to use the two of them for your advantage. And I hope you understood something, and I hope you learned something from this episode. And thank you for joining me for this wonderful episode of Life Lessons with Zeno the Great. And before you go, please, I want you to help me do something, because from our analytics, we found out that most of you watch the video but you don't subscribe. So please help us subscribe so that you'll be able to see our next video, and so that you can be able to help the algorithm to push this video to people that also need to see these things, because that is the way we can help our community and help us to be informed and grow together. And I hope to see you in the next episode. See you around.